Hello, all you twinless twins out there. It's been a while since I've been on camera, and I'm sorry if I look like shit, but it's like 1:30 in the morning. Cat, leave my camera alone. Anyway, so thought I would just kind of share my experience and my story. I haven't really done this kind of thing in a long time, so I'm not exactly sure how to proceed. But I guess I'll just jump right into it. So, I lost my twin brother, Kyle, August 8th of last year, 2020. Um, I was sitting on the couch with my parents, and we were watching one of those paranormal shows. Anyway, my sister called my dad and told him that my brother had been shot. I remember my dad shouting, who shot him, and my mom saying, no, please, no. And they raced out the door. I sat here at home. Actually, I paced around frantically like a crazy person, having a freaking panic attack, and trying to convince myself that it wasn't as bad. I tried to convince myself he got shot in the foot, the shoulder, the ass. I don't know. Just about anything that I could do to make it seem like it wasn't as bad. But, because you know how that works, you try to convince yourself that it's not as bad when you know it's probably going to be bad. Anyway, so yeah, I just was a nervous wreck, as anybody would be. Anyway, my mom called me, and she told me that it was bad, and that he was in surgery and having stuff done to him, and that my aunt would be here to pick me up to bring me to the hospital because I don't have a car. I don't drive. I'm 26 and I don't drive. I know. It's it's lame. Anyway. So it felt like forever before she got here, and I just sat in front of the door until, literally on the floor in front of the front door, until she came, her and my uncle. And we made it to the hospital, where we met my parents, my older sister, and my brother's friend, Bryce. I actually kind of thought that Bryce was Kyle because they kind of look alike. But then I realized it wasn't him. And I wasn't exactly sure what to feel, because I wasn't sure if I should feel. I didn't know what to feel. I just felt feelings have never really been my thing. My mom was a wreck. I was in contact with my other older sister. She was out of town with her husband and kids, and I was texting her in the car with my aunt and my uncle. And anyway, so we were all basically just waiting in the waiting room to hear news about whether or not my brother was alive. And the nurse came in. She sat down in the chair next to me, and she told us everything that happened. My brother, he. I'm not going to go into the full details, but they basically told us that he died. And the room just completely erupted. My mom was bawling. My sister got sick and ran out of the room and vomited. I texted my older sister and that he was gone, and my hands were shaking so bad I could barely type. I was the only one not crying, and it wasn't because I wasn't upset. I think it's because I was in a state of shock. I think I was just in a state of shock. So it actually took me a long time to realize that the reason I didn't cry wasn't because I wasn't upset, it's because I was in shock. Some people crying is their first reaction. My response was to go into shock, basically. My dad walked out of the waiting room, and I could hear him outside just screaming and just screaming. Just, my sister, we pretty much everyone in the room was sobbing hysterically. I don't really know how to describe how I was feeling. In shock, yes, but I don't really think it completely registered with me at first that he was gone. Because even as we were leaving the hospital, and my dad had said that he wanted to get him cremated, I was still sort of expecting him to show up. But, of course, he didn't. It was an even bigger shock when I realized that the gunshot wound was self-inflicted. It wasn't suicide. No one who knows him believes it was suicide. We all think that he was trying to hurt himself because he shot himself on purpose, but we don't think that he meant to die. None of us think that that was his goal. Anyway, we all went back to our house just to kind of talk and just be together for a while. Eventually, everyone left, and I went and slept downstairs. My room was being renovated at the time, and I was actually sleeping in the room next to mine, but I went downstairs. And I told my mom it was because that room was too bright. But the truth is, I don't think I was going to be able to sleep listening to her cry. I couldn't sleep anyway. So it really didn't make much difference. Honestly, it's kind of all a blur because I think I've kind of blocked it out in my head a little bit. Not completely. But one thing I remember most was wishing that it had been me instead. I would have given anything to trade places. And if that was offered to me now, I'd do it in a second. My brother had so much more going for him than I did, honestly. He was a model, a musician. Well, he wrote songs and he put them on YouTube. So I guess that counts as a musician. He had a bright future. Me, I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going. I wasn't I'm just kind of there compared to him. I was just kind of there. I felt like. So I felt like people would have been able to handle it better if it was me, and less people would have been affected by it because my brother touched a lot of people. The few days after my brother's death was kind of just chaotic. Everyone was here, everyone was here to support us, you know, clean the house, things like that. And we honestly could not have gotten through those couple weeks without those people. And normally I'm not one for chaos, but for that instance, I was thankful for the chaos because it was a distraction. Oh yeah, I forgot to add this part. At the hospital, my parents, they wanted to see him to say goodbye, and they wanted to bring me, and they wanted to let the nurse to let me in to see him too. But I chose not to. It's not. I don't really. I don't really know why. I think because I was a little scared to see him. I didn't want to see my brother dead. And sorry, my ear itched. I didn't want that to be my last image of him. But the nurse wouldn't let my parents see him. I don't know. I didn't know why. And at first I kind of thought that might be a good thing because they would have had that image in their head for the rest of their lives, and I didn't think it was going to do any good. But I realize now that they had every right to see him, every right to say goodbye to him. I found out later that he was actually on life support. So I'm wondering if they didn't let him see him because they would have opted to keep him on life support. I don't know. I It's just a theory. I don't know. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, the hospital robbed my parents' chances of saying a proper goodbye. Sorry, I thought I heard someone at the door. Probably just the dog. Anyway, I never saw my brother like full on. The most I've seen of him is a picture that was taken. My sister took a picture of the flowers, and at the funeral home, he just happened to be in it. At the viewing, I didn't go to the viewing because I didn't feel like I needed to see him to say goodbye. You know, because as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't gonna be my brother. It was just a shell. He wasn't there anymore. So it seemed kind of pointless. Well, not pointless. I just didn't feel like I needed to do it. Anyway, I've been talking for like 15 minutes. I'm pretty sure you've all stopped listening by now. So I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon. I might submit a part two tomorrow because there's actually more to the story. I just don't want to keep talking for 30 minutes. I'm not one of those people who can do that. Anyway, so and I've actually got to hit the sack pretty soon because I've got to go to work tomorrow. So yeah. It's actually funny because I was actually kind of afraid that if I started because I've never really talked about this in detail, so I was kind of afraid that if I did, I would start crying or start getting emotional, but I don't know why I'm not. I mean, obviously it was one of the worst times of my life, and one of the worst things on the worst day of my life. Honestly, it will probably be the worst day of my life for as long as I live. But I think I've come to terms with it. I'm not okay with it, and I never will be. You know, I'll never be okay with not having my brother here. But I think I've accepted it in the sense that I've just it's happened, and there's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, and see one thing about I'm the only twin in my family, so I don't really have anyone that I can relate to with this loss. I mean, my parents, they lost a son, and that's horrible. And I can't even imagine what that must be like, but they have that common ground and they understand each other. My sisters, you know, although they don't get along, they lost their baby brother. They have that common ground. Me, I sometimes I feel like I have nobody because I don't have that common ground with anybody. I mean, yes, I lost a sibling too, like they did, but it's not like them because me and my brother, we took our first breaths together. Well, not together. He took his 1 minute before I did, but you know, still, you know. Sorry, the damn cat's on my leg and she's like putting my leg to sleep. Sorry, I have a habit of running my hand through my hair. I don't know why. Dude. Anyway. Yeah, I don't really feel like I don't really have anybody that I can relate to in that sense. So it kind of doesn't feel like anybody understands because really they don't, and I don't expect them to. I think that's one reason why I keep to myself about it because I don't really know how to explain it to someone who's not a twin. I mean, you guys get it. I mean, you know, you guys have lost a twin, so you get it. So you know what it's like. But trying to explain to someone who doesn't know what it's like it's a lot more difficult. Like when I was in that other sibling group, and I was trying to explain to them why losing a twin is different. Almost none of them understood, and that lady who sent me that message is about how I deserve the pain and I'm a horrible person and blah blah blah. You know, she doesn't get it because she's not a twin. You know, that's like it's like telling a mother who's lost her child that you understand because your dog died. It's not the same thing. And I know I've said all this already. Like I'm tired and I'm rambling, and yeah, and there are a lot of things that I regret about me and my brother's relationship. I wish that we had spent more time together. For one, I wish that I had taken more of an interest in the things that he was doing. Because when he was alive, I couldn't care less about his modeling. I mean, I was good for him, but I never really cared. I wish that we had more time together. That's my biggest thing. Is I wish that we had more time together. I also regret not saying goodbye to him the last day I saw him alive. Because the last day I saw him alive, he came upstairs and he said he was leaving. And he came up to say goodbye and he gave my mom a hug. And he said bye, like really loud, so everybody would hear him. I barely acknowledged him. I was on my phone and I didn't even acknowledge him. So that's something I'll always regret, because if I had just I know that I had no way of knowing what would happen, but it's still like in the back of my mind. If I just said goodbye to him, I know it wouldn't have changed anything, but it might have made me feel better. I don't know. I just damn dog. I know that when someone dies, we do a lot of could have, should have, didn't. But I think that's kind of natural. Like, I wish that I had spoken up and told him that I wasn't okay with him having a gun, because he was schizophrenic and he was impulsive. So I was not comfortable with him having a gun, but I didn't think he was going to listen to me, because he doesn't listen to anybody. Because he didn't listen to anybody. The one person he listened the most to was my dad. He pretty much idolized my dad. But yeah, I didn't think he was going to listen to me. I do wonder if I had said something, would he have listened to me? If I told him I was worried about him having that gun, because for one, he's impulsive, he's a schizophrenic, and to put it bluntly, he was kind of an idiot at times. And he didn't always think before he acted. And the last time he didn't think before he acted, it cost him his life. And it didn't need to. For a while, I had a lot of anger towards him. I think because it was easier to be angry at him than to be sad. Because he took my brother away, and he had no right to do that. He had no right to take my brother away. He had no right to take my parents' son away. He had no right to do any of that. I just feel like if he had just thought for a split second, it wouldn't have happened. If he wasn't drunk, it wouldn't have happened. Because it happened at the bar. Apparently, he and his girlfriend got into a fight, and he was really drunk. And she walked off. And apparently he sat on the porch of the bar and shot himself. Like I said, we don't believe it was suicide. We think that he was just trying to hurt himself. I don't honestly know why. I think he was just angry. He just wanted to hurt somebody, and he didn't want to hurt anyone else, so he hurt himself. I don't know. I have no idea. And I do kind of wish, and I don't want, first off, let me clarify that I don't want my brother gone at all. But I almost wish that he had been murdered instead, because then I would have somebody else to blame. I would have someone else to be angry at. But the reality is, my brother killed my brother. That's the reality. And the thing is, it's not even all completely his fault. And I know that. He had mental illness, he had a mental illness and he was drunk. So I don't completely blame him. I do blame him in the sense that he never should have had the gun in the first place. He had no business owning a gun. He only wanted to look cool, not because he felt like he was in any kind of danger. So I blame him, and I blame the schizophrenia and the alcohol, because that mixed with whatever voices in his head told him that it was okay to shoot himself seemed like a good idea. I don't know. I don't blame his girlfriend for walking off, because she had every right to walk off. She should have walked off. Because knowing my brother is probably being a huge asshole. Because my brother could be an asshole sometimes. To the point where you just want to punch him in the face. So, she was right to walk off, and I don't blame her at all. I think part of me will always be mad at him, because that's just how. But I've learned to let some of it go. Because being mad at him now is just not as fun, because I can't punch him. And it's not doing me any good. Oh. Okay, well, I've officially been talking for 26 minutes. So, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. I might make a part 2 tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe discussing my brother and I's relationship a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, I hope all you twinless twins are doing okay, and that you guys know that there are people out there who understand, obviously, because this group. And y'all are strong, and we're gonna be okay.